Hi everyone, I'm Mike and I'm an alcoholic. I have experience with these steps as laid out in the big book with a big book step study sponsor. An incredible higher power, meetings like this, people like you. I've made a good part of my amends and try to practice all these principles in my affairs today. Kathy, thank you so much for asking me to share tonight or today. I'm a very fearful alcoholic. And just very briefly how I got here. When I first went into AA, I thought AA was a program to stop drinking, period. I honestly thought that you go there and get some sort of certificate and you just learn how to control or not drink for the rest of your life and everything's good and you don't have to go anymore. And through health reasons, I didn't drink. I couldn't drink because, I was in some really bad health. And so I wasn't drinking. So, hence I didn't need AA because I was already not drinking. And I actually went 11 years of being a dry drunk. And I was full of anxiety, fear, the whole 9 yards. Everything that this book talks about, I had. I just thought I was wired that way. I thought there was no help for, a person like me. I just thought that, that's the way I just have to live my life and just deal with it, really. Peace and serenity in my life, not a chance at all. Always worried about other people, places, and things, what people thought of me, what, things would do to me, just freaking out about the future, regretting the past, never, ever, ever being in the here and now, But that's all I knew. So I thought that was the normal life, after yet another, long run of, I went to AA in 2007, for the, third, fourth time, whatever. And I did go through the steps, in open AA. And I did feel better. I felt better after doing the steps. And I remember thinking like, well, this ain't no fourth dimension, but it's better. You know what I mean? And it was good. And I thought that the thing is, there's two words that always point out to me, and two words that I live by today in doing this work and living life is honesty and thoroughness. And I was not even close when I first went to the first round. I told my sponsor at the time what I thought he wanted to hear. I left out things in my fourth step. I didn't even know what a resentment was. Because, but I just went with it because I didn't want him to think I was stupid and, just crazy stuff like that. And I ended up relapsing again, shocker. And this time was a good one. On May 21st, 2013, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, but that tornado came and went. I used to own a restaurant. I'm from Western Mass originally, and my family still lives there. And I had a restaurant there with two business partners who I lied, cheated, and stole to get the drug of my choice. I stole so much money, but I was gonna pay it back, And right now, and it's been 2 years since the 21st, but right now those partners who were friends of mine to start, I've owned that restaurant for 24 years, and they're starting to come around, you know what I mean? And like we have lunch every now and then or whatever. And I remember first telling them, and to be honest with you, I don't know where this came from. I do today. It came from God. But I remember telling my best friend at the time that he just looked at me, he's like, how could you do that? And he broke down. He's like, we were like brothers. How could you do that? And, but for the grace of God, I just said, you know what? I never set out with a plan to say, I am going to screw him today. You know, I did not write anything out. I go, that's just the path of my destruction. I said, I'm so sorry, but you were smack dab in the middle of it. And I know that today, and it helps me today to realize that. I don't like beat myself up hardly at all, to be dead honest with you, where that bat would be out left and right. I do at times, you know, but I catch myself, and the self-awareness I have today is absolutely amazing. I came to Worcester, like I said, 2 years ago, and I went through the ad care process, and I got into a sober house, and I heard of Big Book Step Study, and I also heard that you are asked, please do not share at this meeting unless you've been through the process as laid out in the Big Book with a Big Book Step Study sponsor. And in my sick head, I'm like, don't they know that I have these cool stories and funny things, and I have so much to offer, you know, this room that, you know, it's just, my ego was just so huge, but I didn't think it was. I thought I was just giving to you people, you know, my incredible experience. And yeah, it wasn't quite like that. I ended up in a sober house where the stipulation of this house is you must go to 2 Big Book Step meetings a week, specifically this one and the one Wednesday night at Tatnick Square. And I've been going to those 2 religiously for the last 2 years. And I remember sitting there, and I always share this, but if there's anyone new here or anyone with these thoughts in their head, I can only share my experience that for me, it definitely got better. These meetings got better to a point where I can't get enough of them. I mean, I used to sit in those chairs and go, you know, I can't believe I have to put up with an hour of this. And I'd sit there and all of a sudden I'd go like, an hour and a half? Oh, come on, you know, this ain't right, you know, and I would just squirm and be on my phone. And, you know, it took what it took to get me to come here, and it took what it took to get me to stay here. And I stayed here. And I, again, because of this house, you had to get a Big Book Step Study sponsor. And I asked a gentleman who was wearing a Red Sox hat, because I figured we'd have something to talk about, at least, you know, and this guy is my sponsor today, and he's absolutely amazing. You know, he's helped me in more ways than he'll ever know. And I've been through the process, but again, those 2 words kicked into me, thoroughness and honesty. And I'm not going to lie, sometime through this process, a few of them slipped by the goalie. You know what I mean? Where I held things back or whatever, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, you know, thoroughness and honesty. I have to live that way today. You know, that's the big difference in my life today. And I've been through these steps, and I continue to work these steps, because the way I used to treat the steps was like a video game. Like, I did step 1, I don't have to do it again. You know, I already been there, I already did that. You know what I mean? I'll just kind of do them, and then, you know, at step 12, you keep helping, so I'll just stay on 12 forever. And the way it was put to me is, and I love this, Big Book Step Study does not let me wiggle off the hook. It just, right from the second half of 12, right back into 1 again, you know? And please don't get me wrong, to the wives, to the employers, those stories in the back, they're awesome. They really are. But what I need is the solution. And I need the solution pounded in my head. And I get that. I get that when I come here. And I am just incredibly grateful for that. And I went through my, you know, my 4th and my 5th, again, with that thoroughness and honesty. And I remember thinking back real quick on the resentments in the 4th, where it was a little thing where it's like, you know what? It's stupid. It's just, you know what? I'm not even going to write this because it was dumb. I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. You know what? For me, if it was so dumb, why is it in my head still today? You know, so out it came. You know, because on that broad highway, for me to my God, is whether it's a big wall in my way or a little speed bump, I need to get rid of everything. And that's what I need to do today. And I do. And again, when I work this program, you know, I went to the bulletin meeting Thursday night, and I saw on the wall, and I've heard these before, but they have like a word for every step. Step 1 is honesty, step 2 is hope, step 3 is faith, and the one on step 4 was courage. And I love that, because that's what I needed. I needed courage to get through this. You know, like any good schoolboy, I went ahead of my sponsor, and I peeked ahead, and then I saw this sex conduct thing, you know, and I'm like, I honestly thought that, like, all right, you know, when it comes to that, because I knew it was the third part of step 4, when it comes to that, it's just going to be a blow-by-blow, excuse me, wow. A blow-by-blow thing of like my active sex life. And if that was the case, then it'd be like the shortest speak ever. You know what I mean? So now I know today it's not just the sex conduct for me today. For me today, it's relationships with other people. All right? That's where this was the most eye-opening part for me. Fear was, I always knew I was fearful, and that was very informative, and all the steps are eye-opening. Please don't get me wrong. But the one about the sex conduct, when I find out my relations with other people, all right, I thought I was the king of that. You know, I was, first of all, I'm not self-centered. You know, I always do good things for other people. I lived for it, you know. But in reality, I lived for the thank you. I lived for the attaboy. I lived for the, my God, Mike, you are the greatest. You know, I figured they'd sing folk songs about me in the mountains because I was so great. You know what I mean? I was all about me, me, me. And when I did something, right, and when I did something for you, you owed me. All right? I mean, if I shoveled your driveway, you owed me a trip to the airport. You know what I mean? And I had this balance sheet in my head of everything that was going on, and that's the self-seeking part for me today. I never ever thought of it that way, you know, but because of this and because of this process, I can see my actions from another angle. All right? By talking to my sponsor, by talking at these meetings, I can see everything, all my actions, all my relations with other people from another angle. All right? And that is the miracle that I experience in doing this process. I don't know. I just think that, like, anytime I was like selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate, the old angle was not even relatively close. I was none of that. All right. When in reality, you know, I mean, selfish I already talked about, but like dishonest or inconsiderate to the T, where I would be juggling like 6 things at once, and because I had to please everybody and never ever giving my complete attention to the right here and right now. You know, I remember, like, you know, and even, you know, even early in sobriety, like my mother would want me to come home for, you know, because she lives alone now, and she'd want me to come home, and she'd have jobs for me to do, you know, and so when I went there, I thought, like, all right, give me this list. I will knock out this list like that, get out of my way, all right, and I will do this and then move on to the next thing. And for me, that's being the greatest son ever, all right? When in reality, I'd look and it's like, you know, this lamp ain't working. I look, it's unplugged, you know, and I'm like, really, Ma? You know, but it was put to me in these rooms, what is so wrong with a mother wanting to hang out with her son? You know, I know that today, and it is such a blessing. Just the way I used, even, you know, and in hearing people talk about this step, how, you know, people in their experience use like sex as a tool and sex to, like, you know, get things the way they wanted. That's not my experience. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know, hey, you know, I would go up to some female and say, hey, look, you know, if you do this for me, I'll have sex with you. You know, it's like, no, all she had to say was yes, and I was gone and running. But It was the afterwards. It was the afterwards where I aroused, suspicion, bitterness, jealousy. I did not realize I was doing that. You know what I mean? Like for me, the job, it's all set. I'll call you, next time. I'll see you whenever. Or bye-bye. And I don't know. And just like looking back again from just a different angle on how I approached all these things, because people in my life, people ruled my life more than I ever imagined. I knew it was true to an extent, not to the extent after doing this work. Complete fear of people's opinions, of people, period, of anything. Never mind a girlfriend, never mind a relationship with a girl that I was so sick where it's like my relationship with a girl had to pass an acid test of what other people thought of her. All right, my thoughts about her were completely irrelevant. If I thought she was like, this, that, or the other thing, and I was like not interested, yet everyone else is like, wow, she's the greatest, she's hot, she's this, she's that. I'm like, boom, I want her. I want her because it gave me like the street credit that I could have, and everyone would go, wow, look at Mike going out with the queen here. You know what I mean? And that's what I relied my happiness on. And my sponsor told me early, if my happiness is contingent on other people, places, and things, I'm screwed. All right? And I know that today. And I can, and I can see that today. And it is just, it's amazing where I was and where I am today. It also asks about like my future sex life, my future relations with other, people, and it asks too, if we slip on this, will we drink? In my opinion, and not yet my experience, hopefully it won't be an experience for me, but I think that if I don't learn from it, if I don't correct it as I see it, then I will continue to live that way. And I will continue to be spiritually sick in my life, treating people like that. If I learn from it, and going back a little, then eventually that will lead me to another drink or drug. All right? But it's that start. It's that start of the snowball rolling. All right? Where, all I got to do is just get that spark of being spiritually sick. All right? Doing things, justifying things in my head. That, I can treat her like this because this, that, and the other thing. I'm good with it and whatever. That's not right. And that won't sit good for me. You know what I mean? If I don't recognize that, I'm screwed. All right? If I learn from it, if I take a step back, if I see it yet again from another angle, I notice it, I make amends when necessary, I pray on it and learn from it. And try not to do that again. I will do it again. It tells me in this book, when we slip up. Not if, when I slip up. I will. But it's up to me to recognize it. And like I said, learn from it. And I try to do that today. I try to grow toward a spiritual solution in my life. And it says too that when I have questions on this, counsel with persons is often desirable. But for me, if grandma says no, then ask grandpa. You know what I mean? I will ask about an ex-girlfriend, this, that, and the other thing where, my sponsor would be like, no, and I'd be like, hey, what do you think about, and I'd keep going until I get that answer I wanted. But it says, all in all, we let God be the final judge. That's what I need. Because that means for me, letting God be the final judge, for me, once I do it, if I'm okay with it inside, chances are it was the right thing to do. If I feel that little twist of spiritual sickness, I kind of know it was the wrong thing to do. Excuse me. I had a situation with an ex-girlfriend who shut me out of her life for about a year and a half. But we went out for 11 years, and her son is 12 years old. So I I helped raise the kid, and I did not see that kid in a year and a half. And to be honest with you, I just didn't know. I didn't know why she did that, and it completely drove me insane. I mean, she like unfriended me on Facebook, blocked me on Facebook. And it's like, my God, I mean, like, what did I do? And I'm like, I got to find this out, I know today that it's none of my business. That's her stuff. But I remember asking my sponsor about it. And he's like, no communication. Respect her wish. No text messages, no calls, no messages on Facebook, no messages on her windshield. Don't drive by her house and see if she's home. Don't drive by her work and like pretend that you're just there to buy something where, oh, you work here, None of that, all right? And I'm like, damn, hey, what do you think? No. And then, but when he said that, right? When he said that, I'm like, you know what? You're right. You are absolutely right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to text her and tell her that, and he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I'll show her. All I wanted was the last word. That's all I wanted was the last word. If she would have came back to me and said like, you're the greatest, I screwed up, I want you back, I'd be like, nah, next, I don't want you anymore, And it's just the sick thinking that I had. And actually about 6 months ago or so, a few months ago, she did come back into my life. And she apologized. And she even came to the point where she goes, you know what? I screwed up by throwing you out and this, that, and the other thing. And the miracle about all that, there was no touchdown dance involved in my receiving that. There was no like, heh! There was nothing, absolutely nothing. I just said thank you, and life went on. But for me today, the difference is not only was there no action in all that, there was no thought in all that. I know today I'm responsible for my actions, not for my thoughts. And a lot of times I do have the thought, but I don't respond to it, and I don't act on it, and that's cool. But in this case, there was not even a thought of doing that. And I was like, holy crap, that is just a miracle for a guy like me. An absolute miracle. Even today, it says, that, depending on our motives, we do these things. And I really have to check them, Today in my life, again, there's that balance sheet of, I'll do this, but you know what? I'll call him because, he owes me, The bottom line and my truth is, if I do anyone a favor, nobody owes me a thing, not a thing, Don't get me wrong, I will be the first to bitch and complain about it. I will be the absolute first. It's like, you know what? I don't believe I have to go over this guy's house and help him move a TV and blah, blah, blah. And my sponsor would be like, did he ask you? Yes. What'd you say? Yes. He's like, well, what's he's like, anything after yes, you own. I can't say yes to things today. I can't do favors for people, offer them, and then be mad when they say yes. You know what I mean? You want to ride to the airport? Sure, thank you very much, God damn, you believe this guy? It's like, that was my sick thinking. Now I just do things and there's no motives. There's no motives at all, There's no motives most of the time when I do these things, because I'm not going to lie to you. Things slip by the goalie. They really do, because I'm human. But again, back to what I said earlier, I learned from it. And I go from there, and even in my relations with people today, a big thing in my life, taking compliments. I could never do that before. People be like, hey, I like your shirt. That's a nice shirt. What, like $5 at Target? What, this thing? How about a thank you? How about like, thank you very much? And today, I give compliments with nothing of the of the look and return. You know, I received a few of the step 10s where people are like, look, I'm sorry for this, that, and the other thing. The other day I said this, that was improper, blah, blah, blah. Instant reaction on my part would be like, nah, don't worry about it. You're good, forget it. What I'm doing is I'm not allowing them to make that correction in their life. I'm not allowing them to give a compliment. You know, I work in a business where sometimes, you know, I'm not tipped very often. I'm a cook in a restaurant, you know, not for long, but I'm a cook in a restaurant, and sometimes the people will come out and say like, and give me a tip, and I'd be like, nah, I'm good. No, give it back to them. Tell you what, buy them a drink, use that money, blah, blah, blah. Buy them a scratch ticket, whatever, and then, you know, what's that doing? It's not allowing them, you know, to give me the gratuity. You know, I'm not letting them, you know, do what they honestly intended to do, you know, and you know what? And on the other side of that, for me in the past, it'd be like, you know what? Thank you so much for that. You know, and I'd give him a $5 bill. Thank you very much. You believe he took it? You believe this guy? You know? It's like, wow, you know, so now I offer today with the true meaning of giving, and, you know, a true meaning of appreciation in my life for other people. You know, people don't scare me as much anymore, you know, and their opinions don't scare me as much anymore. You know, people don't rule my life as much anymore, you know. And then it says, we have begun to learn tolerance, patience, and goodwill toward all men. That patience and tolerance thing, working on that, all right? I really, really am. You know, there's the sick man prayer that I say, but I'm like a dog with a shiny object, you know what I mean? It's like I'll sit there and say, well, thou house, thou God, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, squirrel, you know? So for me, I have to make it simple, and alls I say is 4 words. Bless them, change me. All right? You know, I have to remember that. And you know what? In my experience, this has worked in my life. I've had these people where I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand this guy, this girl, this whatever. And I would pray on it. And I would go toward this person and try to help this person, you know, not like, you know, sit there with a big book in one hand and a lightning bolt in the other. I would just sit there and just like talk to them. How are you? How is your day going? How are you today? You know, listen to their spiel or whatever. Act genuinely concerned. The being genuinely concerned comes with time for me, right? But for now, I can act it, you know, and, you know, kind of be there and listen for these people. And it's worked in my life. People that I couldn't stand, people that I blocked from my phone, people that I just avoided anywhere, you know, time and place or whatever, are like now like big parts in my life, you know, and it's just such an absolute miracle. You know, and I see that today, you know, and as far as like straightening out the past of my damage I've done due to this part of this step is, wow, do I have to check myself? I really, really have to check myself, because I want to go to every ex-girlfriend, every girl that I've ever like, you know, picked up in a bar, and I don't know how I'm going to find her. Go to the owner and say, hey, 10 years ago in late August, there was a blonde sitting here in the corner. You remember her at all? No, it doesn't work that way. You know, I go when it's necessary, and by that I talk with my sponsor about it, and then the final judge again is God in my life. You know, and then I can, you know, because in one brief, quick moment, I can be so self-seeking, you know, and I can be so, what's in it for me? You know, that guy is just right around the corner for me, you know, but if you know, it says God can remove whatever self-will has blocked you off from them. As long as I do this work, as long as I am vigilant in what I do, you know, and I pray on a daily basis, I can recognize that. I can recognize this blockage of self-will and work on it, talk to other people, do what I pray on it, do what I have to do to get that away from me. Because, actually I was reading today with a sponsee, and we read that either God is everything or God is nothing. For me today, God is everything, period. God is everything in my life, and I need to remember that. I need to really, really know that. And when I do, and I'm on that spiritual beam, wow. I don't want to say life is great. Life is the same. I perceive it great. Life is just the same for me. I also, mentioned the fourth dimension, and I've heard this definition of the fourth dimension. I absolutely love it. The fourth dimension, and this is for me, is facing reality with serenity. Imagine that. Imagine going outside this room, out there, facing like those people and being serene about it and just going through life. I always thought it was like this other thing with, this other dimension that you get like transported to or whatever. Kind of sort of is for me, but it's just so great just to be serene in life. I've had, and I actually shared at this meeting, 10 days before my birthday, my sister hits a $10,000 scratch ticket. And not once in my head did it occur to me, I wonder what she's going to get me now. I wonder what's in it for me. But I was so happy for her. And I was genuine, a couple weeks ago, I hit a $1,000 ticket, myself. And what I did was I gave it right to my mother, and I owe her money. So I says, you know what? Here, take it. Just take the whole thing. And she told me, she goes, they have a place in Worcester, because we went to Springfield to cash it. She goes, you could have just cashed this yourself, and I would have known nothing about it. And I says, Ma, to be honest with you, that thought never, ever crossed my mind. Because I know today, if I do that, again with the spiritual sickness, as I shared again in this meeting and many others, I buried my father last month. And it was something that was very hard for me, something that was very fearful for me. But because of this process, I was able to be there for my mom, my sister, my nephew, brother-in-law, aunts, friends, whoever. I was able to be there and be there for myself. I was able to take care of myself, because without taking care of myself, I can't take care of anyone. And I need to know that today. And I don't know, I am so grateful today for this process. If you're even thinking about it, please, by all means, go for it. If you're writing, keep writing, because at this point I was close. At this point, I did digest some big chunks of truth about myself. Now, the question is, what do I do with all this stuff? I dug it up now. What do I do with it? Because of the anniversary, stop by 2 weeks from today, and you will hear from an amazing speaker what he or she did, in the next step. And it is wild. And I know it's going to be a great speaker. I have no clue who it is, but I know the type of people that the Big Book Step Study process produces or brings out in people. And I'm sure I will be amazed, as I always am. And thank you so much for letting me share. Thank you.